This is the secret weapon used by top mix engineers to achieve separation, highlight instruments and vocals, and create space in the mix. Sidechaining is the game changer that can make or break your mix. So get ready for my top 5 sidechaining pairs and learn why and when to use them. Grab a notepad and buckle up, because we're diving into the world of sidechaining. Let's go. If you're new to sidechaining, think of it like this. Imagine being in a crowded room and asking everybody to lower the level of their voices so that one person can be heard. In music mixing, it's the same. You're using a sidechain to pull the level down of one instrument against the other that you want to take the focus. And I'm going to show you my top 5 sidechaining pairs. For all these sidechaining pairs that I'm going to show you, I'm going to use the simplest plugin that's out there, which is called Track Spacer. To use Track Spacer, follow these steps. Step 1, place the plugin on the channel that you want to duck. Step 2, in the sidechain drop down, select the instrument or channel that you want as being the main focus point. So this is the channel that's going to be taking priority in the mix. If you want more advanced mixing and mastering tips like this, then please make sure you subscribe to the channel and like this video. If you've got anything you want to particularly know about, make sure you put it in the comments and then I'll do a video on it later. Right, let's get stuck in. Sidechain number 1 is vocal against effects. These effects are things like reverbs and delays. And the point of this is we want to duck the effects down when the vocal comes in. Otherwise, the vocal is always washed in those effects and it doesn't sound very clear. Let me show you the before so you can hear what I'm talking about.
Looking for a lifeline, some way to get to cloud 9. I don't care if it's overrated. I gotta make it.
So now let's listen to it with Track Spacer in, and that's just going to pull down the effects, but leave the tail.
Looking for a lifeline, some way to get to cloud 9. I don't care if it's overrated. I gotta make it.
If you want to see the more detailed way of doing this, then I've added a video to the end of this video that will show you exactly how that's done. Number 2 is kick and bass. This is the classic sidechain technique. By sidechaining the bass, when the kick appears, it will lower the volume of the bass and let the kick come through. This produces a much punchier kick and adds a ton of groove to the low end. So I've added the Track Spacer to the bass so that when the kick comes in, it will then duck the bass out of the way. Here's the before and after. Number 3, lead vocal and backing track. Now we're going to have to get a little bit more advanced with this one because we are working with the whole of the backing track. So we're going to dive into the advanced settings on Track Spacer and just move a few things around so that we're only dealing with the main portion of the vocal. So if you go into Track Spacer and you click this blue circle, you can see that you can select just the MS. So what we're going to be dealing with is we're going to be processing the mids and the sides separately with this. You need to have the pan on around sort of 50-60% for this so that it's still doing a little bit of the sides and doesn't just sort of duck the middle completely. And it's, you know, we're just trying to make this so it sits in there nicely without being too obvious to the listener. And as another thing we're going to do is we're going to use the high cut and low cut just so that we can focus on the vocal bit here. So that's going to be around 800 going up to around 3K. Because if we duck the whole track, if we don't use these, this is how it'd sound.
I want you to be mine all alone for all time.
So you can hear it just sucks it completely down the whole track, top, bottom, middle, the lot, and lets the vocal through, but it just sounds dreadful. So by adding these filters in at around 800 and going back to around 3K, let me show you now how that sounds before and after.
I want you to be mine all alone for all time. I want you to be mine all alone for all time. I want want you to be mine all alone for all time. I want you to be mine all alone for all time.
So by having it in this small pocket area, it's less noticeable and it just holds the vocal into the track a little bit more so they don't sound like two separate pieces. Number 4 is main vocal against backing vocals. With this, we're going to do it similar to the last one, where we're going to use the high cut and the low cut so that we are only doing the center section. So that means any backing vocals are just going to be a little bit more loose and open around those frequencies. So I've put the track spacer onto the backing track, so then allowing that little pocket to pull out again and allow the vocal to sit in there. And it just joins it all together really nicely. Check out the before and after.
I think I need a break. Don't care how long it takes. You know I hate the way you lie to me. You make me feel so dark. You really broke my heart. You opened up my scars.
Number 5 is synth against pad. This is set up in a similar way to the others. We're not using as much high cut here. So I've put this track spacer onto the pad because that's what I want to duck out the way, because the synth is the lead instrument in this case. So here's the before and after. This works really well because you don't really hear the pad dropping too much because the synth takes its place, which gives your focus point onto the synth and away from the pads, which is exactly why you want to be doing sidechaining in the first place. Let me just show you that technique where it plays the pad first, and you'll hear as the bass comes in, you won't notice the transition because the bass overtakes the focal point, and it works really, really well. Generally, mixing is about making space and, more importantly, about having focal points within the mix. And that's where sidechaining works perfectly. As I've shown you, here's 5 examples of how you can use it in your everyday mixing. Grab track spacer, there's a few others out there that you can then test out, go on different tracks within yours, but I guarantee you this will take your mixing up to another level if you're not already using these kind of sidechaining techniques. As I promised earlier in the video, the next one up is me doing some detailed sidechaining with effects on a vocal.